What's up, people? Nut Punch here. So I did pick up Dungeon Drafters for $25 on Steam today, April 27th, 2023. Going to talk a little bit about it, my experience playing it, the positives, the negatives, the whole 9 yards. But let's go ahead and talk about it. There are 6 main characters you can play. The Explorer, the Shinobi, Bard, the Monk, the Brawler, and the Mage, going from right to left. And my main character that I'm playing right now is, of course, the Shinobi, because that's what I played in the demo for about like 5 to 6 hours. And I do like the character because, one, she has direct attack cards that are very powerful, but also AoE spells that will deal with units that are around me. So it's a lot easier to deal with compared to like the Monk that does a lot of like defensive walls and being able to hex stuff, making their health go from like 3 or 4 down to 1 and then killing it easier. But I'd recommend letting the cutscene play because there were a couple of times that I would try to speed past it, trying to get into the game itself, and the game would crash or go into an infinite loading loop, and I had to Alt F4 the game so that I could actually play it, or have to start over and then watch the cutscene again. There were a couple of bugs that were kind of annoying when it came down to playing in game 2. For example, one of the shrines you can actually unlock or find that would reveal all the locations on the mini-map, when I did it, the game would freeze, and I couldn't escape, I couldn't move or do anything. And I thought, what the hell, might as well just restart that too, so that once I did, I was able to finally save it, so that if it did break again, I could be able to go back to the loading save and play that specific point. The other thing when you play this game is that for $25, I have to say, I'm not that proud to really play your level for like 3 to 4 hours, having to listen to the same song over and over and over again on repeat. It's very annoying trying to play these games. Like, sure, the Dusty Dunes or the Dune Dome level has its own song, but then Glacial Library has its own song too. The problem with that is that they are the same song played over and over and over on that level, and the only time that they're different is if you go into a boss fight, and even then it's still played on repeat. For $25, I was really hoping that it would have more than just the same song I've been listening to in the demo for like constantly 4 or 5, 6 hours, and sadly it did not. That was one of the things I didn't like about the game. The other thing, of course, is the bugs and the problems that it had prior to trying to get into the cutscene or having to deal with some of these shrines and being able to play the game. But they also have the scripted cutscene when you have to kill the statue. And if you defeat it, I don't know what happens, but whenever I tried to do it, I had 2 health left on him, and he just instantly killed me anyway. He has a move that does like 3 to 5 damage, so it didn't help out much when I had to go and restart because I thought it was something that I could possibly beat. But I think it was a scripted death because once I died, I was respawning here about to talk to this priest about what was going on. But whenever you die in the first level, which is essentially the tutorial, you go into the hub world, which is called Adventure Town. And this is the place to where you do these mini games, get your cards, upgrade them, get curios, or even be able to upgrade some other things and talk to the one of the guys that do the expeditions that find these more powerful curios that you might need later on. The other thing is that they have these different types of mini games like fishing, for example, to where you have to get a bunch of different fish, fill up the blue bar at the top portion of the screen there, and once you do it, it goes into this more faster mini game to where the shards pop out and more fish that are rare come out, and you get more shards through that. The other game that they have is the slime game, and what this is where you can take your slime and you have to fill up the entire card. But the different rules is how to play there kind of weird to where slimes will go for the greater numbers but prioritize smaller numbers, and you could split them sometimes to where if it's hard enough to use one slime, then you can use 2 to be able to fill up the whole card. It's kind of weird, but for a mini game like that on top of a card game, it's kind of nice because then you can get more shards, maybe upgraded rewards, or some more powerful cards through that way. But when we go back to the combat, and people don't understand what Dungeon Drafters is or never really played the demo, the game as follows is that you have cards on the bottom portion of the screen that are spells, abilities, or traits designed for your specific character. You also have action points in the left portion of the screen. Your green bar is your health, and the yellow book there is your library. Once your library is completely out of cards, you won't be able to do any actions other than being able to basic attack and move using the WASD keys. And it's a grid-based game, so every action you do is one, and you have 3 total action points unless you can get more through other cards or curios that you would be able to acquire later on. The other thing with the mage is that you have specific spells that would do more AoE, higher damage like wound, being able to teleport, swap different areas, and then being able to do more damage against other targets. But like I said earlier, the main character I'm playing is the Shinobi. And the Shinobi is very fast and agile, has dashing attacks, has something called Lightning Smite or Bolt Smite, to where she's able to teleport to that area if she kills that unit and does 3 damage to it. Or if you wanted to do other cards that you could find, you can go to the inn and buy cards that are more upgradable, or maybe even being able to buy cards that you do not own instead of going and getting booster packs and doing these dungeons that would have them inside chests, being able to do bosses, or having to do these shrine events, for example, the Power of the Sword, to where they spawn units to come after you, and you have to kill them in order to get the treasure chest or any additional loot that would be there. But essentially, Dungeon Drafters is this. You go off and do these other different types of areas like the Lost Wreckage, the Misty Grove, the Dune Dome, the Magma City, Glacial Library, any of those different types of areas, and you're trying to complete them in different layers and different difficulties to get better cards and booster packs that you normally could not find. And they are essentially the ways to get your deck boosted up and make it more powerful. So in closing, what do I think of Dungeon Drafters? Personally, is it worth $25? Probably not to some, if not most people. Mainly because of the music and only having to listen to one song over and over and over. For example, when I was streaming it on Twitch for about 6 hours, there were a couple people that didn't like the idea of listening to the same thing over and over and over again. But they still liked the aesthetic, the gameplay, and how the cards kind of looked. Not to mention the different heroes you play as, like the Shinobi, the Brawler, the Mage, being able to do different styles of play. And of course, you're probably wondering, well, is those 318 cards that you find, are they all going to be the same, or are they going to all be different? They're probably going to be all the same thing, except it's just going to be what cards can you use for your specific character or your deck, depending upon the rune or whatever style of play you have. It all depends upon, what you can find. And the booster packs are pretty random, not to mention that if you do die trying to do a dungeon, that's it. You lose all your booster packs, and you probably lose half of your shards, and then you go straight back to the hub world and start again. So the game it's a card game. It's fun for me personally, but I cannot say for $25 that everybody's going to want that. Like I said, the music is pretty glaring that I don't want to listen to that constantly going off, so I would turn something else on or turn it off entirely and then watch like a stream on the other monitor of mine. But that being said, I've been One Nut Punch, and this has been another video. Like I said, everybody, this was just my personal experience playing the game. Like I had done maybe a couple of times beforehand. I don't know if it's going to be worth $25 or something, but that's what I paid for it. I didn't get a free key because I'm not that type of person. And all these other people in the reviews that are screaming it's too difficult, they're dumb, because it's not that hard. Compared to maybe, Slay the Spire Ascension Plus, or being able to play Wild Frost, or playing Maho Kenshi, it's not that difficult. And of course, the tougher enemies that you fight will have better drops. So it's up to you to decide what you think after this video. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.